What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the BBP podcast, the Biblical Business Professionals podcast. This is episode number 5 of our podcast series. I am your host, Blake Whaling, along with my co-host, Takashi. As always, today we've got a very special guest with us today, Mr. Josh Schrock. Josh, thank you so much for having us. We're downtown Minneapolis and WeWork. Is that correct? We got like a little booth here. That's awesome. Got like the ideal podcast setup here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just tell people a little bit about yourself and like what you do as far as like business and where you're at with that.
Yeah. So I own a few different businesses. They all happen to be real estate related. We own a brokerage called Rise Realty, help people buy and sell residential and commercial properties, focusing in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. We run a real estate fund where we aggregate investor funds to purchase multifamily properties. And then our third business is called Cashability. We lend money to flippers, short-term loans. You could call it a hard money lender. The idea with that is to empower local agents, local investors with capital to do flips and short-term investment plays.
Awesome. Yeah, real estate is such a huge industry. And I mean, you've broken it down in just 3 little different segments, but like out of all your businesses, which one are you most active in right now? Like what's one that's at the top of your mind?
Yeah, Cashability is the one that I spend the most of my time in right now. So kind of a fourth business. I do some consulting on the side.
Sure.
As a fractional visionary, helping other businesses do a lot of the work that I've done. And the other businesses, I've spent a lot of time trying to kind of delegate and elevate myself out of active responsibilities and Rise Realty, Rise Fund, and but very involved day to day in Cashability.
Sure.
Helping grow our sales, our products, and hopefully making some big fans of our products in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to add something onto that?
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you mentioned that your second business is like the fund business. Mm-hmm. So what does that look like? You know, in terms of the business model standpoint, in terms of raising a fund and buying real estate.
Yeah. Well, it all started, we've owned a brokerage for a while, and we've always wanted to use that as a mechanism for impact. It's not just a pass-through business, but it's not the business that we're going to retire off of.
Yep.
That's never been the goal. But the real beauty of it is that it's a hub. It can access to all kinds of unique opportunities. Right now, we have about 40 agents, real estate agents. And as unique deals were coming up consistently over the last 10 years, we found ways to take some of them down on our own, but there were consistently more opportunities that we had access to than we had capital.
Yeah.
So as we just kind of grew level of trust with investors around the Twin Cities, there was enough people willing to say, hey, instead of helping me purchase a property, why don't I deploy my money into your fund to help spread that across a broader portfolio, not just one property.
Mm-hmm.
So the technical way that we did that, it's promissory note financing. That was kind of the original model. A really unique model in that people would invest. We had a pretty low threshold. We wanted to be able to service a certain number of non-accredited investors. Majority of our investors were accredited.
Yep.
But we went out and spent a couple years purchasing a lot of 2 to 20 unit properties around the metro, and then have shifted the focus really to syndicating commercial properties back to that same group of investors. The model was such where people would invest money. We gave a guaranteed rate of return, and then also shared in the upside with the investors so that they'd benefit from the performance of the fund as it performed, and had a really good run in that model, and have since kind of shifted to focusing on raising money per project rather than continuing to support that initial fund.
Yeah. Why is that better in your opinion?
I don't know if it's better or worse, but I think it's better for us. We're better at it. We feel like we can kind of bring a better service to our clients.
Yep.
And the other thing is we just have we've seen the market tighten in this specifically the small, 2 to 20 unit buildings. It's tough to find a really good deal. And
Yep.
so we've shifted the focus to commercial properties. And it's a heavy responsibility, which we welcomed to take in people's money, but there's some really talented people that are already smarter than us to do that and to get better and to service that on an ongoing portfolio basis. And we wanted to take what we do best and have that be a little bit more focused on syndications. So finding unique deals and operating them through lease up or through redevelopment.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I mean, where we're at in the economy right now is kind of an interesting spot. Like and I'm guessing there's a lot of people. We've got I guess a wide range of people that are in real estate that like real estate that, watch our stuff or came to our different group that we hosted in Minneapolis. But how are you, what strategies are you using to like get lower interest rates and to make sure the deal fits your buy box? And I know because now it's harder than it was a couple of years ago, where if you threw a stack of money at a building, like you had a deal. Like that's how it was. But like how was that for you guys?
Yeah, if you figure out, or if someone else knows how to crack the code on lower interest rates, you let me know, because I don't know.
Yeah.
But we have, it does make a huge difference just having really good banking partners.
Yeah.
And that's, if we kind of zoom out, the benefit of how we've structured our businesses, they're obviously mutually beneficial. And so part of the benefit is that there happens to be a lot of volume from a banking perspective when you look at all three. That's afforded us some unique opportunities, even some unique offerings.
Sure.
Because we're doing so many different things in real estate. But we felt like there's less control right now on the financing fees and costs, and the two things that we can control are acquisition price, and then and oftentimes our projects we're doing construction, and so having a really great partner that can eliminate some of or lower the cost on the build out or the redevelopment of a commercial building. And then obviously we can get really creative with how we acquire properties. So that's part of it. We've done a lot of seller financing and other unique ways of leveraging cash that is.
Yeah, I know that's been really popular. I mean, you see everybody on YouTube that is talking about, let's do seller financing. I don't know if you know who Pace Morby is, or you follow all these guys on, like, he's the pioneer for subject to and all these different business models for getting property. So that's cool. That's cool. Do you want to add anything to that?
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like it's always just finding the deal, because when you buy right, you're able to lease up, find an opportunity to lease up. You're always going to make a deal happen, or like you said, have a good construction manager or a company to partner up with,
or at least reduce the risk.
There you go.
You can buy a good one and still operate it terribly, and maybe you come out the other side a little not banged up as much, but
it builds character. Builds character.
So kind of pivoting from that business into faith, how are you, I mean, in your day-to-day, it's either the people you're consulting with or your employees or the partners you work with, how are you bringing the good news? What are some of the things that you think you have been doing to really get them exposed to Jesus?
My perspective on it is when I grew up in such a way where the emphasis was a little bit more, it felt dichotomized. Like there's I have one hat on in this location where I'm the Christian here, and then I'm the business owner here, and I go to church here, and then I work here. So for me, in the way that I'm wired, like I want and I need those things to mesh so that I'm operating as one healthy, holistic being. And so a big part of that is just making sure that I'm a healthy leader, husband, business owner. And so I think most of my thoughts around, faith and bringing that to the workplace is a lot of I guess it's kind of wrapped up in just being a holistic, good person. And not that just being good, but I think I want my faith to impact the way that we design a business, the way that our products are to design to really help people.
Yep.
And I think all of those are opportunities that reflect in some way the goodness of God, the grace of God. And
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds like just showing up with excellence and doing the best that God's given you to do, and be a role model for people to look up to. That's really how you essentially show up as a Christian man in the workplace. Okay.
Yeah. I heard someone say recently on a podcast that what our world needs is probably, it's not another fact. It's not another debate on the ins and outs of truth.
Yep.
They really need to be convinced of a better story.
Yeah.
That a life as a consumer, a life as just a modernist, kind of believing in a lot of things. They need to see that. They need to see it in real life. That, hey, Christians are, there's some bad PR out there about Christians these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's a big emphasis of mine is to make sure that it's not black and white. That just kind of every part of me is centered on God and His kingdom.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, going back to what you guys were talking about earlier, I mean, people will want to do business with people that have good character. Like they'll see you and be like, wow, this guy is wholesome. He's honest. Whenever I do business with this guy, he's always punctual. Like people will see you and be like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be in business with that guy. And then like you just say, I'm not special. All I do is that, I praise God and I get on my knees every single night and I thank God, that molds who I am. You could just tell people like that. That kind of parlaying that into my next question. So how, has there been challenges in your different businesses? Because I know like corporate, like you were talking about, there's, your corporate entity right here, business, right? And then there's the faith aspect, what we're all about is, intermingling the two. Like how has that been a challenge in your businesses? Like with employees, like how have you, I mean, that's
right.
Kind of similar to our previous question, but like, do you do Bible studies or is there, have you talked to employees about, explain that to.
Yeah. We, if you looked on our websites, there's nothing explicit that would say this is it's got the Christian badge on it.
Right.
But hopefully kind of built in to every part of our vision, and the vision applied into our strategic plan is the fingerprints of God's goodness and grace and truth. And but yeah, it comes with challenges for sure, because not everyone sees it the same way that we do. I think the challenge in our current times is there's some bad PR. There's just kind of like the walls go up, and when I think in some cases, not always, when the face is just purely Christian, and kind of there's a lot of assumptions behind that for a lot of people. So we don't shy away from our faith and how that changes who we are. But and we happen to have a lot of like-minded people in our businesses, which is pretty strategic.
Wow.
It's not like an exclusive club by any means. And but we do have a lot of Christians that are doing business together. And a lot of, the nature of real estate or brokerage in particular, which would make up where we have the most people. We have about 40 agents.
Wow.
And there's definitely an element of, wanting to facilitate inward culture. But there's more of an emphasis on how do we help them be deployed to, really the impact is going to be pretty minimal if we're just kind of helping each other, which we want to do that. But if we're helping our agents be both successful, be great Christian business people.
Wow. Yep.
I mean, that impact can multiply way beyond us, way beyond them, and influences, a lot of clients and
Yep.
and beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
I'm going to circle back to more of the, the business related stuff. So like with your banks, you said that you have, certain relationships with your banks. Do you deal shop like at different banks? I mean, you're loyal to one specific bank. You've got all like Chase Bank, for example.
Yeah.
You've got all your business accounts at Chase. You know the banker, their first and last name, that they've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, whatever. Do you look around or deal shop? Because a lot of people in real estate, they'll shop around for the best deal, or do you stick to your guns with relationships?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess the long story short, I think that there are not that many unique products out there. When you look at residential real estate, I think that's a whole other animal. Most of our business, at least the active acquisitions we're doing, would fall into the commercial banking category.
Yep.
And in that case, there's really not a lot of creativity being applied there.
Mhm.
And so what I found that actually does make a difference is the relationship. And so I guess to answer your question, there's definitely an emphasis on working consistently with the same people.
Yep.
Because I feel like that opens up doors. And the peak behind, a lot of banks is, especially the smaller local banks. There's a president of the bank who has a big opinion on how their money is spent.
Yeah.
There's a loan committee, and those are just humans.
Mhm.
And so the impact of being known by the loan committee, treating them well, bringing them business, adding extra value, goes a long ways. Residential is a whole nother ballgame for sure. I think there's something to be said about there are different tactics, there's different gimmicks, and those can make or break a deal in some cases. But I have always put a major preference on working with people that I can know and trust, even if in some cases it's a little bit of a premium.
Yep.
I prefer to do that because I think the aggregate of that, or the kind of the ancillary benefit, is greater than the per deal benefit of maybe a 0.5 point difference or something like that.
Yeah. And like when you go with these different banks, especially the small local banks, that it's making a real impact. Like when you do deals and you're giving, you're having a business deal, you're giving money and they're giving you whatever service.
Yeah, true.
That has you see the people that it impacts.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you do business with them, that it feeds their family, that it pays their mortgage, that they're able to pay their car note with those smaller businesses.
Yeah.
So for me, and there's probably a lot of people out there that are watching this, like you said, you'd rather have 0.5 point or a point, but you see the impact rather than just a big conglomerate corporation, one of the biggest banks in the, I'd say the world, definitely the United States. You don't know where that goes necessarily because they're such a big entity. It can go lots of different spaces. But thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I think I really resonate with what you said about building long-term relationships, because that's what God calls us to do anyway, right? To really get to know someone and help them to get to know Christ. And it's just so much harder if you only know a person a little bit by little bit. But if you have that long-term relationship, I think that's more likely for you to hopefully have the chance to share the good news. Do you agree?
Yeah. And I think it comes with a lot of business benefits too, where you zoom out from one transaction. Well, if the relationship is really beneficial, mutually beneficial, it'll probably lead to more deals, and then other opportunities, other doors opening up, other connections to things. And we've got to a point with some of our bankers where, because of that leaning into the relationship, where they're, something comes across their desk and we'd be the first call instead of not having that opportunity by just consistently shopping around for the next.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's a good spot to be in. But cool. I guess we're running a little bit behind on time, so we'll just kind of jump right into the 4 questions if that's fine with everybody. So I'll here we can just do this. So for the first question, and for those who don't know, every single episode we consistently do each 4 questions just so that we can hear the different opinions of each of our guests. So first question, besides the Bible, we know the Bible's, one of the best book. It's the best book that's ever been written. It's God's manual to us and how to live. Besides that, what has been a good book? It can be like a business book or a Christian related book. What has been a good book that you've read or that you'd recommend?
I love to read, so that's a hard question to answer. It probably changes every year, but the books the two books that are coming to mind, Traction is a book. It's a pretty widely known and acknowledged book. I found so much value, and not that it holds some secret to success, but it does contain kind of an operating system, kind of boils down a lot of really great, wise business principles and puts it into kind of a bite-sized way to run and operate a business. So I found a lot of value in that. We run our businesses on Traction. I've helped other businesses kind of be set up to put their strategic plan together and operate that way. Another one is Vivid Vision. I'm a big believer in businesses needing, and you can operate a business without a vivid vision. But I think if a business is set on having any kind of long-term healthy impact, it really needs a vision. And I think that book does a great job of explaining how to create the vision and how to make some of those incremental steps to seeing the vision come to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Those are good. I know you probably just named, I was going to say, just name drop a few if you can't necessarily think of anything right off the top of your head. We'll just roll right in the next question. So what is your edge in the marketplace, or how do you stay competitive in your marketplace? Because real estate, there's so many people in real estate. Let's just be honest. There's so many, different facets of real estate. Like what stands you guys apart from everybody else that's trying to do this?
Or not even just real estate in general. In life for yourself, what are some of the whatever habits or edge that you're like, oh yeah, no, I do this better than everyone else?
Two things are coming to mind. One, I've always thought about this concept of like a one-click difference. In other words, the click meaning like thinking about like a whole circle, and instead of like completely thinking about a 180 or a totally alternative way to think about something. It's just, hey, let's just do something a little bit different and be very clear and double down on that difference. So in other words, like you think about real estate, there's so many agents, right? And a lot of them are saying the same thing. And with I was a part of launching another brokerage here in the Twin Cities, another successful independent brokerage, and we were challenged with that of like, hey, people kept coming to us and they asked, outsiders would be like, why work with Witt's Realty? And for us, it was we always doubled down on the experience. So there's this book called The Power of Moments, and one of the concepts is, hey, you want to, whatever your business is, for us it was real estate, so you want to do that job really well. You want to meet the baseline expectations, and instead of spending so much energy chasing a high across the entire timeline of a real estate transaction, it was like, let's be really specific with a couple key moments that where we can bring in a real differentiated experience to celebrate with our clients. So that's a big part of it. I think in everything, making sure that that everybody wins. And another cliche way of saying that is just adding value to the people that you're doing business with, and not I've never kind of taken that as a way of trying to get something back from someone, but I just naturally want to do that because I think that creates a really sticky experience, something that people talk about. We always shot for something remarkable, which means you literally want to tell others, you want to remark about it. So that was kind of always our goal, and it still is, to do something that's just a little bit different. So when we think about hosting an event, it's like we're going to do the normal event things, but what's one thing that might get people talking, or they might remember and tell that story again?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Third question. Is there any ministries that you're currently supporting, or that like you can name drop a church that you go to, or what does that look like for you as far as ministry work?
Yeah, I'm pretty plugged into a ministry organization called CBMC, Christian Businessman Connection.
Yeah.
We have a common connection in that. It's been so helpful for me. I've seen a lot of, personal impact, and I believe in a lot of what they're doing. And so yeah, both financially supported and with my time as well.
Yeah. We've had a few guests name drop CBMC. So, I mean, I've been to a couple of their different events, and it's awesome. Like you're talking about experience. Mm-hmm. It's all professional, but yet I feel like you can have fun. Like it's not sticky business stuff. Like you're there, like you can go there and actually genuinely have a good time. So
yeah, 100%. We get together once a month.
Yeah.
And our group, it's 12 business owners.
Wow.
Ranging from, some smaller businesses to some very, very large, well-known businesses.
Yeah.
And, but we're all trying to do that blend of being holistic Christians that are building remarkable businesses and trying to be ambassadors in the marketplace.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah. Final question before we go. What has been the best advice that you've either been received, or that you have given to somebody else? If you can, I know that's a pretty hot question. It usually is for a lot of our guests, but if you could boil it down to like one thing, share one little tidbit.
Yeah, I'd say, I don't know, I couldn't quote a specific line, but I'd say just the power of focus. I think today you'd mentioned even there's these YouTube stars. There's so much momentum. There's so much buzz around the hustle culture.
Right.
And I think it's supported there's some big wins to be had if you work really hard.
Yep.
Especially in real estate, there's no ceiling. And that's why so many people have flooded into real estate, especially in the last 10 years, because you can do some crazy things. But I've been a believer in, or at least personally have wanted to measure success, way more than, just a win today and tomorrow, but something that is healthy for our family and for the people that we're working with. And a lot of times some of the more aggressive kind of hustle culture, it can be at the detriment of other people and maybe not set you up for long-term success. So part of how I have tried to keep myself on a trajectory to building businesses that last, that are healthy, it's just being focused, not trying to do too many things. We love and we facilitate a culture of new ideas and such, but we have a really firm vision on what we're chasing after, and so all of the decisions we make, that acts like a rudder. It helps us when a dilemma or a conversation or something we need to decide comes in. A lot of how we should think or behave about, around that thing in question, it's defined, and it keeps us really focused so that we know today what we should do to accomplish kind of our longer term goals.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to compare it to Shaquille O'Neal. Like Shaquille O'Neal was a basketball player first, and he's pretty renowned in the business industry. Like he's got, Papa Murphy's or Papa John's franchises. He's got all these he's got his own restaurant, but he was a basketball player first. Then after that, he started doing more and doing more and doing more. So that's truly accrediting to the power of focus. But thank you so much for sharing. But that pretty much wraps up today's episode. Thanks again to Josh for letting us come here and give him the podcast spiel interview. If you guys like what you are seeing or listening, make sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe on YouTube. And if you guys have any suggestions for questions, feel free to comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. Any questions you want to hear us ask the speakers. But that is episode number 5 in the books. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.